What are you talking about?
It's crazy.
Man, you all
Is
give
the
me
season
something.
over, guys, at 2-5?
Yes.
Probably. The only reason I said it was over yesterday on our postgame show.
Yes.
The only reason I think it's not is just because
I'm from Cleveland.
everybody's so mediocre. No, it's just everybody's so mediocre.
You've only
besides a few
played two
teams.
division games. You still have a lot of
If
division
they
games.
lose to the Bengals a week from today, then it's done.
That's my answer.
That's the final
My
nail.
answer is that
It's
the playoffs
swirling the
start.
drain. It's swirling
But the
drain right
Bengals
now.
are.
It is. It's
Now, it
circling
may
the
not.
drain.
In fairness, the Browns have
come to
had
you
the
on this
Bengals
thing,
number
right?
They
for
have.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right now, the Bengals and Browns are like this. I mean, the Bengals are
They got it together.
Getting their
yesterday.
stride.
They
They're
got it together.
trending upwards.
since the second half of the Saints game 2 weeks ago. Their offense has been unstoppable.
Yeah.
They have like 60 points in the last
They
6
have
quarters.
figured it out.
Yeah.
And the Browns are, here. But it's one football game, and Stefanski has had the Bengals number for whatever reason. So maybe, but if they love, that's the final nail for the season. I don't think there's any doubt.
And this locker room is teetering. Like we
Do you
heard
want to
it.
tell us what you know from what happened last night?
Yeah, I mean it's out there.
It's out there,
been
but-
written about it, and I'll be perfectly transparent. I was in the back of the interview room talking to Jimmy Donovan, our Jimmy here at Channel 3, and he and I were just kind of chatting about the game.
Could you hear it?
I did not, because I was talking to Jimmy. So I was in the back of the room. Our Zach Jackson and Mary Kay Cabot and a few others were closer to the door. So the interview room is attached to the locker room. The guy just comes right out the locker room and into the interview room. So Zach, they heard the commotion, and Zach sort of positioned himself a little bit closer to the door and heard very clearly one of the players screaming, "No effing leadership."
Yeah.
And
So let me come to you after you finish.
so I mean, when you and I'll go back to what JJ3 said. I'll use the nickname anyway.
Oh, Lord.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'll use what
Jonathan.
He does not deserve a nickname. G's right.
What Jonathan Johnson III said last week, and I didn't know, because Brad, you know this. Sometimes guys say something and it gets blown up in the media, and they're like, "Well, I didn't really mean it to be what it has become." And there's other times they're delivering a message.
Yeah.
And when John spoke this last week, I wasn't really sure, because I was standing there and I didn't really take it as how it was portrayed, and I thought, well, okay. But when you take what he said, and then you take whatever happened in the locker room after the game with no effing leadership, and I don't know who said it. I'm not going to venture any guesses because I have no idea. He was quick out of the locker room. Normally he hangs around, and Jonathan was fast out of there yesterday. Read into that whatever you will. This team is teetering on the edge. I don't think there's any question about
Jason,
that.
this team has been teetering all season. It really has been. And I will tell you this, the one thing that I took away positive this Saturday, Bull, that should have happened weeks ago. Because let me tell you, at the base of it, it's not about how much money you make as a player. It's about your internal integrity and pride in what you do. When I come to work, I expect to be successful. And you're not going to have me out here looking like a sucker, right? That's what you got me looking like, right? That's what went on in the locker room yesterday.
But what's
and so when you talk about leadership, right? The thing that is apparent, there's a lack of leadership here, right? There's no leadership here. It's not coming from the coaches. It's not coming from the freaking players. This is a ship sailing rudderless. Let me tell you, and I'll tell you how I know it. If you caught the post game with who's on?
With G. Bush and Adam the Bull. We don't know about any other post games there.
The kick returner.
Josh
Cribbs and them on TV yesterday, right? So I'm flipping. They're irate. You know what they say? At some point, somebody's got to stand up and be accountable here. These are players, because you're breaking all the player rules here, right? And this
Is it possible that's what happened last night after the loss? Did someone stand up?
Somebody stood up and just said, "I can't take it anymore, Jay. I can't take you."
In your experience, has that sparked a locker room? Has it fractured a locker room?
You can go two ways at this point.
Okay.
Because yesterday, somebody was supposed to get punched in the mouth. That's what was supposed to happen yesterday. Because you've been talking all this, right? So I'm not surprised that one person ran out of here quick, right? I'm tired of hearing from you today.
I wish I could have pulled that play up on the goal line. Same dude that had John Johnson. He had the same play.
We'll get it up, actually. You know what? This calls for it. I got you.
This was the all 22 of Johnson's lack of effort at the goal line, right? Is that what you're talking about?
He's there. He's unblocked.
Yeah, and Brad and G, I'll ask this to you guys. Don't you lose the right to point any
Yes,
fingers
you
if
done.
that's the kind of effort
If
you're
you
throwing
get out
around?
here in public on people talking about people playing video game, you better be stellar in your game. Because if you're not stellar in your game, we're gonna have some words. The other thing, what they say in the street, you're gonna see these prayer hands.
Yeah,
that's what you about to
G,
see.
you want to see it?
Yes,
You wanna
like,
walk
I
us through
want
it?
everybody to see
You
it.
about to see it.
So you
Let's
don't
take
think
that
I'm
one
just
full here.
being negative Nancy. There's Spot Shadow. Who blocked you, dog?
Didn't even make an effort. Was right next to him.
Just, what?
Wasn't Tyvis defending him on this play somehow?
And Tyvis was wrong on that play.
Oh,
Tyvis was wrong on that play.
yeah. Yeah,
Like,
that was.
when you want to, and I tell
was
Ty-
really shady.
Tyvis, no. When you on the goal line, your job ain't sitting here to play no pass. It's when you in goal line.
Jacob Phillips pushes him out the way like, you in my way.
He didn't even. Even if he was and he didn't see what he was doing, why are you not even? You're close to him. Dive, make. He didn't even stick his hand out. What is that? What is that? These are, and this is the problem. You know what? You've been here 2 years, and that's what I want.
He should be benched.
You've been here 2 years. Ain't nobody been here about to be 2 years talking about you telling people what they need to be doing.
Bench, I'm just telling you, on good teams, let me tell you what had happened. He'd have been dealt with in that locker room. Yes, he would have.
And you done aired up.
We'll settle this right now.
Do guys see that in real time, though? I guess the guys.
Yeah,
on the
they might
field
not
see
know it.
that.
If they didn't, they're going to see it in
But in
film.
film
They'll
room-
see it in film.
Let
That's
me
what I'm
tell you
saying.
something.
In the moment, though,
Let me
like
tell you
guys on the
something.
sideline don't
You
see
think the
all that
people he
stuff.
was playing back there didn't see that?
The guys next to him.
They
saw
And
saw
the guys
that.
behind him, the guys in front of him probably didn't.
Correct.
Yeah, there might only be one or two guys in the moment, but by today,
They all know it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That-
And I just wonder when the guy who is trying to be the leader gives that kind of effort, I think it's more of an indictment of not having anybody lead.
No, here's the
Because it's the wrong guy leading.
Jay, here's the indictment. If Stefanski don't make some changes
There it is. Talk that.
today, right?
Like what?
And calling people out. When you see effort like that, you go into the sideline. You ain't
He
even
not
getting
playing
in.
to me.
You
He's
ain't
not
getting
playing for
in.
me next
You
week.
might be a healthy scratch.
He's not playing.
You ain't even suited up this week.
Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl put one of his best corners
Sit down.
on the sideline the whole game.
And it
Sit
probably
down.
cost him another ring.
And you know what he said? I ain't playing with you though.
Sit down.
You're not gonna play with me like
What
that.
Singletary say? Can't win with him.
Can't do it.
Can't
Can't do it. And by the way, I'm just saying, for Stefanski, I've never said Stefanski should just be out and out fired. Here's the problem when you don't hold people accountable. And holding people accountable is in two ways. If it's a player, it's called playing time. If it's a coach, it's called you get demoted or you get fired. And if you are 2-5, when you don't make any tangible moves that anybody can see in the playing, the scheme, and the coaching personnel, guess what happens? People start to think, you know what? You don't know what you're doing. Either you're condoning this 2-5, or you're coaching the 2-5.
Or they think you're stupid.
Or you're not.
Bull, who is most responsible in an organization for setting culture? I'll ask it of all
I think
of you
that's a
guys.
good question. I think the coach, ultimately,
The culture and winning teams.
the quarterback.
The culture.
The culture.
No, I said culture. I didn't say on a winning team. I said specifically culture because bad culture is a thing too,
you
and
see,
that is set by
I
who?
don't live in bad culture.
No,
can't-
I know,
can't
but
deal with it, but I would tell you
Who's
go-
most responsible for the
It comes
temperature
from
in
the
the
tip top of the organization down.
Okay.
Right? In my own job, I'm the one that's held accountable, and I hold everybody else accountable.
Jay?
I do
So
not
then it's
let
the
people
owner,
get
you
past
say?
it. Yeah, it starts from
That's
there.
an answer. Jay, what do you think?
1,000,000% it is ownership.
And
1,000,000%.
G. Bush, what do you think?
I think it comes from the top when you talk about the organization. It's the owner, what they want to do, and then it trickles down. But I will say this. When it comes to the ground level and how you administer your game plan and how you motivate people, the most important person in the organization is the coach. Because a good coach, you say a quarterback. No, a good coach covers everything
But
up.
G. Bush, the reason I asked that question is because I spent some time working in the Patriots organization, and it was actually the Super Bowl in which Belichick made the move to pull a player out. It was the Super Bowl in Minnesota when they lost to Philly.
To the Eagles.
And you don't, it's not like I was an integral part. I was hosting their daily network for their postseason streams.
Gotcha, okay.
And it was in Minnesota. So I was in the team culture. There were meetings where I got to meet Robert Kraft. I got to see how Robert Kraft operated. I got to see the attention that he paid to this streaming network that was the first of its kind. He just basically said, we're going to put on a 24/7 network for our fans. And they ran old Super Bowls in the overnight hours. And we came live every morning at 8 a.m. And we went live till every night at 6 p.m.
Okay.
So every day there was 10 hours. And we had access to the team, Brady interviews, Belichick interviews. And I just got to see how the organization worked.
Right.
I was only there for 10 days. But what I noticed about this, and I never noticed it being a reporter on the outside because I just never had that kind of access. In talking to people within the organization, after I had accepted that I was the job to do this, I was talking to different people in the organization, not the football side, but the business side. And I was asking because I was curious, what makes this go? What is it? And everybody individually said, Mr. Kraft. There's no question who the boss is. It's not Bill.
None.
Bill gets a lot of the credit from the media.
None.
But this is absolutely a product of Mr. Kraft.
Any winning organization is going to have that. But I will tell you, the coach, to just further your point, you know what the coach is, Jay? The coach should be an extension of them.
That's exactly
That's
what everybody
exactly
said.
what
So
they are.
what people said was, when you look around and you leave us after 10 days, here's what you're going to notice. We don't just have the best owner and the best coach and the best quarterback. We have the best video coordinator. We have the best marketing team. We have the best legal counsel. We have the best travel facilities. They have their own beautiful 747 that every team it would be the envy of every team. They own it. They don't rent a charter. But I bring all of this up because what I learned in watching that and how it operated was I asked, is he easy to work for? Is he tough to work for? And they said what all good employees of a company that's well run say. Oh, you love working for him if you do your job. First of all, you're not here unless
But is it possible they said this to you because they're afraid to say anything else?
No, because I was an outsider, but I wasn't. This was when I was in my non-compete years. I was still being paid by ESPN, but I couldn't work for anybody else. ESPN granted me permission to go do this. But I was no threat to them. They knew I wasn't going to run to ESPN and blab this out.
Right.
And I made a lot of friendships during my time there, and we had a lot of dinners and a lot of drinks and a lot of conversations, and they opened up. And I'm naturally curious about organizations that function well. And I'm also morbidly curious to dysfunctional organizations. What is it about the organizations that make it run well, and what is it about the organizations that make it run like they're missing five cylinders?
I can tell you, I've been on both.
You've seen it firsthand too.
I've been on top tier organizations. They run just like you said, just like that. I've been on bad organizations. Minnesota was horribly run, right? They were the nicest people though, but they didn't have no idea how to run an organization.
Right.
Right? This is why you had, when I told you last week, we were on a plane and they were flying fans on the plane with us, right? Like it was a toy, like we were toys.
Sure.
Right? So the common denominator is that when you run an organization, it's run from top to bottom well. It is, right?
But can it change? Are you doomed?
Well,
I mean,
you
think in the NFL, but if you think in the NFL, right? Like in
look
fairness,
at the Steelers are the same thing.
The owners that we think of as bad owners are all on bad teams. But do we think of them as bad owners because their teams have been bad, or are they actually bad owners?
That's a great question. It's a chicken or the egg scenario.
Like Washington,
is the team
Dallas.
bad because of the owner, but my answer to that, and I don't know if it's the right answer. This is just my theory from looking at this from a distance and at times up close for 35 years. I think everything in the organization is a product of the very top.
It is.
Now, for instance, so I agree with you. There should be where's the guys that have been cut this year or benched? I haven't seen
them.
If I'm the owner, what does Robert Kraft do in this situation? He meets with Bill Belichick after they're 2-4, and he said, Bill, what we're doing is not working. So we need a shot across the bow. I don't know who it is. I don't know what it is. Someone's going to get a pink slip. There's been no message sent to your clubhouse.
I told you that 2 weeks ago.
And they need a message.
Yeah.
Whether it's a coach, whether it's a player, something has to change, because if you keep the course, that course is taking you to a 5-11, 5-12. So we have to change something. So I think in watching the excuse me, in watching the Patriots, everybody said, I said, how is it possible there hasn't been one bad season? And I know you had the easiest, they had the biggest chip on the table in Brady. Mm-hmm. And then probably the second biggest chip on the table in Belichick. But everybody was quick to tell me that didn't happen by accident. They stumbled into Brady. But they talked about all the things they loved in Brady when they drafted him. Mm-hmm. Those are all the things that manifested itself during his career. And with Belichick, they knew they had a good one. They knew he just needed the right organization to thrive. And Robert Kraft provided that. But trust me, there were times where there were Robert Kraft interventions with Belichick.
Yeah.
And even Belichick interventions with
Absolutely.
Brady.
It'll be interesting to see over the
keeping everybody in check that makes the thing go forward.
It'll be interesting to see, depending on how long Belichick's there, if it falls apart now, even with Robert Kraft still there. Because obviously since Brady's left, they've been mediocre.
A little above 500.
It
right?
doesn't fall apart, but obviously, look at the Spurs. The Spurs, Spurs are one of the best run teams in the league.
Yep.
But when you don't have Duncan and Manu.
You have the horses. You go.
Yeah, Pop is only as good as the players on the floor. But it's still an elitely run organization.
Yes, it is.
And they're still going to outperform what they should.
Right. Yeah.
It's like the Steelers. They don't have losing records because they have a winning infrastructure.
Yeah, but winning culture.
Well, they'll probably have a losing record this year, but
They may, but I got to tell you, even yesterday, and I watched most of the second half of that game.
They're right there.
It was like the Browns.
They're right there.
They could have and should have won that game. And Miami kept giving them one opportunity after another. They've got a young quarterback who hasn't figured it out yet. But as I'm watching him, there were times where I said, he's going to figure it out.
He's trying. You can see
This
it.
guy, I see why they think so highly of him.
I was like, wow.
He does not suck. He's green.
So I would tell you that one of the things when you I was thinking about what you said with the culture and the winning organizations, you cannot be afraid. You talk about who do we sit on the sideline, who do we get rid of, right? You cannot be able to hold people accountable. One of the worst things about when you run an organization, you're in charge. Sometimes you have to discipline and let people go. You have to fire them. People find
Belichick cut a guy on Christmas.
People find that to be the hardest when you're a nice guy. I can't do it. You know what? Sometimes you have to freaking do it because you need to send a message to the entire crew that you only here on limited time, bro. That's it.
Yeah. It's not about the one player. It's about the other 52 seeing what you did to the one player.
One time, shout out to Jeff. He was my boss where I worked at in the office before I got here and started doing this. And he said, you know what? G. Bush, you do a lot for your team. You go to bat for them. You when they talking about budgets, I created an incentive program. I implemented it. I gave them different things. Everybody got a birthday cake for their birthday.
Right.
They engagement. And you know what? I put it on the line for them. I made sure they got raises. I made sure they got the 2 to 3% raises. And it got to a point where you had all the people were doing great, except for maybe 2 or 3. And then one person who I had hired personally, trained, and was a good performer, when she went home, her numbers started to slip because, I'm like, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. What's going on? How we doing? And I was like, well, maybe it's her computer. Well, maybe it's because she had traditionally been a good employee. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And then Jeff called and told me, he said, nah, it ain't none of that other stuff. It's the fact that she thinks she's sliding. Mm-hmm. You didn't went to bat for her, you done did all this stuff, and sometimes you gotta discipline her so that the other people
see what's happening.
That's it.
Because they come into work every single day, and when she don't show up or he don't show up, they taking extra calls. You holding them accountable. You on them, but they doing what they supposed to.
And you're pissing everybody else
That's
off.
what happened last night in that locker room.
Yep.
That's
What was
exactly
the
what
term
happened.
DeQuell used on Friday? Was it a healthy level of fear? What was it?
Yeah.
He was.
There's a
He kept
healthy,
saying,
yeah.
Well, look
healthy dose of fear or something.
Look at this example, Jay. I mean, again, the Jets are not a winning organization. They've been bad ownership and a losing
By the
organization
way,
like the Browns have.
Robert's got a lot of receipts now, doesn't he?
But Robert Saleh, you credit him. Maybe he's going to turn it around, or maybe next year they're 5-12 and everybody's firing Robert Saleh. Who knows? However, Elijah Moore on a team that was 4-2 asked to be traded this week, which that's lame. I don't care if you're not getting enough touches. If the team's winning, you don't ask to be traded. That to me is bad. Well, Not only did they not trade him, they benched him this week. They did not make him active for the game. And they could have used him.
I'm glad you brought the Jets up because, to me, Saleh is almost the antithesis of Stefanski. His roster is not a 5-2 roster. It's just not.
The Giants don't have a 6-1 roster.
No, and I'm glad you brought him up because Daboll's doing the same thing. Now, they may come back to who they are by the end of the year.
Especially the Jets lost Breece Hall for the whole year.
I think they both will. But the reason that I'm glad you brought those two up, the Giants and the Jets, is because I think it's the dichotomy of what's going on here. Here, there's no spark from the head coach. There doesn't seem to be any leadership, whether it's from players or coaches. The roster is stacked, and they're 2-5. And you've got the Giants and the Jets where you look at their roster and there's holes everywhere, yet they're 6-1 and 5-2.
Neither team getting particularly good quarterback play.
No, but what they're probably playing over their skis.
Yeah, especially the Jets.
Where this Browns team is underperforming.
Very much.
Why? So. Well, I think Daboll's a great coach. I think Saleh's a pretty damn good coach. If nothing else, he's a motivator, and his guys are willing to run through a wall for him. And I just can't say that about what's going on here.
And ultimately, all these almost every game in the NFL comes down to the end. A very large percentage of them. They're all close games. So these little differences in the little things make a huge deal. One or two plays, one or two mistakes determines most of these games.
Margin of error, and I will tell you this. You know, I've been on the other side of it, Jay. From the starting lineup, walked in the next day, and they were like, "You out the lineup," and not just out the lineup. You ain't even getting in the game. What you mean I ain't getting?
They told you before the game.
No, they'll never tell you. I'm sitting there watching the minutes tick.
So you got the message.
I'm like, I'm not checking the first quarter. I didn't get in there by halftime.
Ooh.
Third quarter.
Was it worse?
By halftime, you know.
Yeah. Halftime, you have an idea.
Brad, was it worse
but your
that
mind
they
is
didn't
telling
tell
me
you?
they're not going to do me like this.
Was
they
it
won't
worse
do me
that
like
they
this.
didn't tell you, though, Brad?
No, but you know, they did tell me. I'm going to send you a message. You're not getting it done.
But they didn't tell you face to face. They just let you figure it out.
Because they're telling it's for me and for the other 11.
Yeah. Oh, Brad's not playing tonight.
Get out of line here.
Yeah.
You'll
Did
be
it
done
work
like,
in your case?
Oh yeah, because I went back to practice the next day. Like, hold on now. My mother was watching that game. I wasn't in the game.
Yeah.
You gonna single me out? I get singled out that whole group.
So your character, though, it went the right way because of your character.
Yeah.
Pride.
Yep.
Work ethic, and just you're getting paid a good dollar. You want to be a contributor. But what about the guys that asked to be traded?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm not playing. I want out of here.
Well, he got to go. You out the door. He's the first one to get. His head would have got lopped off on Monday. Well, you out of here. Anybody else want to go?
But the business of the sport says you can't. You got to get something.
Well, they benched him.
For
I mean, they benched him.
So that's punitive.
Inactive.
But if you decide, like Carolina, and you're gonna, and by the way, the Panthers
21-3.
Every time you think you know what's going to happen in the NFL, Sunday
sometimes,
happens.
Jay,
that kills
it's
me.
not about the money. It's not about anything.
Me.
Sometimes I just have to send the message for everybody else, right? And let me tell you what irritates the players. When they see certain things that should occur and they don't occur, discipline, held accountable,
Yeah, there's no
and you
teacher in
let
the
it
classroom.
slide, it infuriates people.
They are mad. I'm telling you right now. I said it last year. People thought I was crazy. Last year, they had a major issue because you got rid of OBJ in the middle of the season and then had the nerve to be upset because he showed you why you was terrible.
Shows the receipts.
So people got mad. Oh, he's not getting the ball. Well, damn it, he should have did it earlier because that's the problem. I don't know why. See, people, when you mad about people showing what you did, that means you lack accountability. That means you're running from accountability. The first thing they should have said was when that tape came out, you know what? Odell was right. He was open 5 or 6 times.
In fairness, though, I don't totally disagree, but there's some accountability for Odell that he didn't take accountability for either. Well, he didn't play well enough. Gee, he dropped the ball a lot. His catch percentage
He did
sucked.
not play well enough.
He did not play well enough.
Let's be clear.
And he's unreliable. He's always hurt.
The last pass thrown to him in a Browns jersey, he alligator armed it. Now it was Baker throwing it, so it was a tough catch to make, but he wanted no part of that.
He don't get free pass. He don't get a free pass.
And there was a lot more than that.
Well, here's the point. When these dudes in the locker room is looking at you, They give you Odell the first time, right? But now it's Nick Chubb. So now you don't get a pass because they sitting in that locker room saying, once again, one of our best players that can help us win is not receiving the ball. And so they check out. Why would I believe that he's going to put anybody in position?
Jason,
he ain't showed it.
Jason, do you think that that's a likely scenario? Because if we're all, and not all of us are saying that, I think you're happy with his use, and you seem to
I wasn't happy with his use yesterday, but in general, I'm happy with his use.
I think there's pockets in every game where you could point and say he probably needed to get the ball there. Now, is that the difference in winning and losing? I don't know.
We have never said, oh, they're using him too much.
Never.
They're just using
You
him
can
too
never
much.
use LeBron too much.
So they
you
always
can never use Jordan too much.
It's different. You can't make that comparison.
Yeah, because it's 5
completely
players
different.
with
It's a running back getting absolutely pounded versus one guy in shorts and a tank top with the ball.
But I see Nick Chubb pounding people. They can't tackle him. He's not a scat back. It ain't Eric Metcalf we talk about. The dude is healthy. He on the sideline looking like this.
You're right. And I agree they could use him more. I'm not debating that. Okay. But I will just hold up Derrick Henry to you and say, do you want Derrick Henry, a guy who 2 years from now is going to be league average or worse because he's already won out?
This has always been my
and maybe the answer is yes, because we're going to go to the draft and we're going to get the next one. Maybe that's the way they got it. That's the way they look at running backs.
I would tell you, Jason, go ask the fan to pay $200.
They want
what they think.
And here's the other thing that I thought of again.
You think they want to see him run some more?
We're gonna waste his best years. And so the question is, would you rather have him for 9 years where you're mediocre?
Exactly.
Or would you rather have him for 5 where you have a chance at winning a Super Bowl?
And by the way, Derrick Henry has, after a slow start, has kind of gotten back on track.
He was dinged too. He had some dings early.
I think those dings are going to continue. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong. Right. But I just think that we're starting to see.
I don't think Derrick Henry's done.
Overall.
He's not done, but I think
overall, since Stefanski has been here, I think it's been overblown that he hasn't used Nick Chubb enough.
That's not true.
It's my opinion.
I agree with you.
That's not true.
But there are certain times where it's a fair argument, in my opinion.
Here's the thing: if we had quarterbacks, I said it the other day. You think Brissett is Warren Moon? You throw the ball 45 times. You come out in the first half of this game. You throw the ball. My thing is, I can understand if Deshaun Watson's playing. I can understand if you got Herbert or Mahomes and you got some stuff you want to establish. But it is egregious for you not to focus on your best players and you act like you got something at quarterback. That's not. You can't.
I agree with you, but I don't think that's been the case the whole season.
It hasn't been. I mean, he was 7-7 at least to start yesterday. Like Jacoby played well.
Okay, so
he played well.
Yeah, no, there's no question here. Let me ask you this.
And your example last week is dead on. I agree. I said you can't throw 45 times and run Nick 12. That can't happen.
I want to get back to what Jay was saying. It's time for a shakeup here.
So what's the change?
Well, okay, so a week from tomorrow is the trade deadline.
Okay.
So there's 2 ways you could change. You can make player changes.
One, I'm getting rid of Hunt.
You can make coaches changes.
Because we talk about not using Chubb.
I said that
Hunt
yesterday,
had 6
Jay.
touches.
Gotta go.
Trade Hunt.
Gotta go.
Trade him.
Because you're not going to
If
use
you're
them.
not going to use them,
get rid of them.
Yeah,
and you're not going to use them. The numbers tell us they're not going to use them. So what are we going to do? Wait till his contract expires and he walks? Trade him.
Good point
today.
by Rich Cimini, who says the Browns should. Remember, Breece Hall tore his ACL.
Yes, and he's their best
He
back.
was the main reason why they were 5-2 because he's been great.
They should be on the
Kareem
phone
Hunt
with the
makes
Jets
a lot
right
of
now.
sense there.
What are you going to give us for?
And by the way,
Kareem Hunt?
Kareem Hunt has the same skill set as Christian McCaffrey. They're the same type of player, and everybody. I think a lot of fans have forgotten how good Kareem Hunt was.
That's our fault. We've done that
right.
to him.
Now maybe
I
he's
want
not.
Kansas City.
Maybe if he's playing every day and the lead guy, maybe he's not as good as he was in Kansas City a few years ago. But he's still only 27 years old and hasn't had a ton of playing time.
Mileage on him.
Yeah,
I think he's still a top 10 back if given the opportunity.
Kansas City Kareem is still very much in there.
I think
just
so.
mishandled it.
There's no reason the Browns could. Now, I personally would wait and see if I could win this Bengals game, and if I do, I would plow forward. But if they lose to the Bengals, I would definitely trade Kareem Hunt.
I'm glad you brought up the Bengals because I'm going to try to be the voice of optimism, which is very rare. I've picked them to lose the last 3 games.
Yeah.
I don't think the season is over, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
But at 2-5, it's getting late early, as Yogi said.
Yeah. Fat
The
lady
Bengals
singing.
game is home. Let's say that spark in the locker room does ignite this team's fire.
Yeah.
Let's just assume that it does. And, it's going to be a great crowd for the night game.
Well,
I know it's a stretch based on what the Bengals are doing and what the Browns are doing, But who called Carolina to beat Tom Brady without Christian McCaffrey? So
Fair.
It wouldn't be
now
the
the Buccaneers
craziest-
weren't playing well. They had just lost to the Steelers the week
but
before.
That game would still be a bigger surprise to me than if the Bengals lose to the Browns.
Correct. I
That
agree.
would not blow me away.
Agreed.
So I know it's a big stretch. But let's
Bengals are
say
only a
they win
3-point
that.
favorite in the game.
They're 3-5. They go into the bye week. They get healthy. They get their minds right. They're coming off a win. Then they are at the Dolphins, who, by the way, even with Tua back, they've got some injuries too.
It's a winnable game.
That's a
Yeah.
winnable game. I know these are all stretches, but crazier things have happened. You're 4-5.
I don't think you're far-fetched.
You're losing at the Bills.
Don't get off the bus.
You're
Just don't get off the bus.
Don't even go.
Right, I
You're
think-
losing at the
yeah.
Bills, so you're 4-6.
And then Tampa Bay.
But then you have Tampa Bay, which suddenly looks like they're the doormat of the league. Then you're 5-6. Then you're at the Texans, and guess what that is?
Well, if you look at this the 6 games that Deshaun Watson would initially play, the only tough games are the Bengals and Ravens.
That's
in
it.
those 6 games.
So-
That's it. But suddenly those are much more winnable if Deshaun Watson is integrated and playing like he used to.
We're going to stop dealing with ifs, right? We're going to start with some basic things that need to be put in place. You have to bring your ship in order now. You have to put your house in order.
Well, that's
right?
obviously before any of that
so
happens.
your house in order starts today. It's not next Monday
Yeah.
against the Bengals.
So what do you want to do? Fire?
No,
do you want
but
to do?
here, you
Okay.
have to straighten out some things here, right?
Right.
So I don't care if that's it's shaping lineup, sending messages in the locker room. It's some things. And you can't keep telling me that everything is going great. We just have to make some final tweaks, small tweaks
No,
here.
I know.
No,
And by the way,
we're
Deion
beyond
Jones
that.
isn't the piece that's going to save us.
No, you saw that yesterday. You saw that yesterday.
Man.
He got that awful stiff arm.
Oh, my God.
God.
How about that play call, by the way? Mark Andrews
know.
tossing it to Lamar Jackson on
I know.
4th.
Yeah.
Hey, it was brilliant. It worked.
But guys, let me ask you all this: if you were in charge of the Browns and you could make one change today, like realistic, not like go trade for Lamar Jackson or something like that, but like one realistic move, whether it's fire a coach, trade a player, off the top of your head, like bench somebody, like what's the one thing you would do? Does anybody have something?
I got 3 solid things.
Go ahead.
Mike Prefer was gone after the game. He was done.
He should have been long gone by now.
I
think he's actually been worse than Joe Woods.
He has. He's
Yeah.
gone.
Well, the performance of the
Yes.
special teams play has definitely been worse.
I go to Joe Woods and I tell him, you better have a great one this week, because after this week, if we
I
lose,
can't save your ass.
bye.
Well, the bye week is when that would likely
Bye.
happen.
Like so we'll do that, and then I'll go out and I'll get one of these defensive tackles. Hey, and Dominican Sue. Hey, what's shaking? Come on in here. We need something. And I tell Myles, Garrett, you might want to keep recruiting. Go recruit.
Yeah.
You and your boy Conley.
What about benching John Johnson?
John Johnson would have been sitting. I'm either looking at what's his old boy's name? The Bell.
Oh yeah.
Bell is playing, and if your boy not doing nothing, I'm putting Rodney Harrison. Delp it, because he's right on the same page as his boy.
They close.
They very
They
close.
real
There's a
close.
lot of axis swinging. How's Schwartz doing?
Oh,
He was inactive.
He was
yesterday.
inactive yesterday.
How's Schwartz doing?
But I don't know. What does that do?
he can't catch punts.
What does that do?
If it's a dead spot on the roster,
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not going to get anybody's attention.
no,
Well,
it's
yeah.
not. But
Cut
you got to
him.
make
I'd
your
cut
team
him.
better.
But it's again,
I would cut him.
it's about calling things as they're seen. I told you in preseason, why are you holding on to this dude? He don't have it.
No.
Let's move on. right?
However, everybody,
DPJ had a heads up play
Donovan
yesterday on
Peoples-Jones
that
is
punt.
playing well. He's playing well.
Yeah, he is.
He
He had,
picked the
he
game
had the smartest play of the
He
day
picked-
yesterday
yeah, when he
by
hit
knocking
the
that
girl.
punt defender
Yeah.
so they didn't
He
start
picked
the
his game.
drive on the
He's
1
on
yard line.
pace for around 1,000 yards. I mean, on this team,
Is he?
It's like 890.
Well, with the extra game.
Yeah.
I don't
the
know
extra-
what
Yeah.
He's been playing well.
all right, 900 yards.
Okay.
All right, for him, what we expected with this team that's not really a passing team, even with all the complaints about not running enough, I think they're still 8th most in running attempts. Now, it should be higher, but
be
they're still
first.
8th most.
They should be first.
So he's got 336 yards after, it's 7 games. All right, that's why I was thinking 1,000
Yeah, no,
yards.
he-
Let me-
Okay,
let me-
but still, he's still on
let me-
pace for probably
800.
850,
800.
something like that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this is what I think. I don't think I think with the proper tuning, fine tuning, they can swing it. They're not losing by many, right?
But nobody is. Though.
I think we
Nobody
all
is.
agree, though,
Yeah.
if they lose at Cincinnati,
That's
it's a
correct.
wrap.
It's over. It's over.
That's
It's
the
a
final
wrap.
nail.
Yeah.
You have
and
to
then
win that
for
game.
sure you trade Kareem Hunt. any talk about Ndamukong Suh, this ship is underwater.
Yeah.
You don't bring anybody in.
That's
on
it.
that.
Next week is the last stand.
If it's 2-6, the building is on fire and bodies are jumping, and I don't know what happens.
Yeah, if you're right.
I
mean,
don't know what happens.
Because
at
we've
that point.
said all along, you can't fire Stefanski until you can see what he is with Watson.
Here's
But I don't know.
Here's my apprehensive now creeping
What'd
in the back of my mind. The apprehensiveness that I'm starting to feel is we keep going down the line and we keep saying Stefanski has these different weapons. Now you've given him the ultimate weapon. He finally got a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
But you didn't get OBJ the ball. You don't give Nick Chubb the ball a lot. And Kareem Hunt is on the milk box. I don't understand how you could be confident that Kevin Stefanski is going to make the right offense and tune it around
Here's how.
Deshaun Watson.
They're a
4
top 10
losses by
offense.
3 points or less. That's how. It's not like they had the blowout. They had the one blowout, which I thought they were out schemed, but 4 losses by 3 points or less. And if you think that Deshaun Watson is going to make the difference, and I do, none of this conversation is taking place if they're 5-2.
That's what I've been saying all year
6-1.
long. You can't.
Right.
You
can't do it.
We can dissect. We can groan. We can complain. We can do everything that we do every Monday. And the fact is, you're not going to know what you have until Deshaun Watson is on the field as your quarterback and Kevin Stefanski.
Okay,
But
so
the truth is, Jason,
and that's
that
not going to be till next year.
There
I'm
are
not even counting
teams.
the last 6 this
Jason,
year.
there.
It's next year.
But in fairness, there are teams in the NFL right now, including the Jets and Giants, who we've mentioned, who have
Backup
subpar
quarterbacks
quarterback play and are winning games.
So come back to me in Week 11 and let's see.
Well,
If they're 8-3, then congratulations to them. They did a better job.
Why we got to come back to you? You tell me, do you think there's some things, some adjustments, some changes should be made here? I mean, you can't sit here today and tell me that we can ride the same car we drive.
No, some changes have
You
to be
can't
made. I
argue.
just don't
Kevin
think you can change
Stefanski.
the driver.
Here's the deal. Kevin Stefanski. We could debate whether he should be fired or not. I don't think he should be fired personally. However, he has not done a good job this year.
No,
there's no arguing
what
that.
Game did I came on here and said Myles, Garrett, and Kevin let him down? Was that the Chargers? Which game did Myles miss?
So
the
what
Chargers?
should we be doing?
They're all running together.
Yeah.
There have been times where the head coach let him down. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
The Patriots game, he got out coached. Period.
Big time.
But I don't think you fire a
gotta
guy
bring
because
in,
of 2 bad games.